Hello, this is Dr. Mercola, and today we're here with another exclusive Facebook question and answer session. And today's question comes to us from Shane Funk from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. And Shane asks, please explain the balance of omega-3, 6, and 9. How do we know if we're getting the correct amounts to stay in balance? Let me expand on that, because understanding these concepts will help you select the right types of fat, because fat, I believe, is one of the most crucial elements to stay healthy, along with optimizing your gut flora. So essentially, it's important to recognize that most people in the United States and the developed countries have their fats wrong, and that is really a crucial concept to understand. And by that I mean there's a massive amount of surplus of omega-6 fats. And these are the bad types of fats. I mean, we need omega-6 to stay healthy, but the problem is we get way too much and we get damaged omega-6 fats. This is because they're highly processed and they're damaged and they're oxidized. I think it's important to understand when we talk about omega fats, we're talking about a double bond, and the 3, 6, or 9 really determines, is a description of where, on a chemical level, where that double bond lies. So because there's a double bond, these are highly perishable and susceptible to oxidative stresses. So you have to be extremely cautious, because when you expose these perishable fats to air, ultraviolet light, or pressure or heat, it tends to damage and oxidize those fats. And those damaged fats will not serve the function they were designed to in your body. In fact, they'll actually make you worse. So that's why when you process these oils in industrial types of processing, and you have vegetable oils, especially corn or soy oil or many of the other vegetable oils, they're exposed to air and light and heat, and it's a huge problem. So you want to stay away from those. There's almost no reason where anyone is ever going to need an omega-6 supplement. So I would avoid omega-6 supplements, and any of the ones that you buy at the health food stores, omega-3, 6, and 9, stay away from those, because you're already getting enough omega-6 fats. The ideal way to get your omega-6 is from seeds and nuts, ideally raw, and if you're having those on a regular basis, you're going to get more than enough omega-6. Omega-9 is primarily in olive oil. It's also in canola oil, but I do not recommend canola oil for a number of reasons, and if you're unclear, just go on the site and search for that. So stay away from canola oil, but a little bit of olive oil and even just a healthy diet will give you more than enough omega-9. You know, omega-6 and omega-9 are not the deficiencies. The real deficiency is the omega-3, and the omega-3 tends to relate to the balance. So if you have, you know, ideally there's a range of anywhere from 1 to 1 to 5 to 1, omega-6 to 3, and if you are getting too much of the omega-6, as most people are, then that ratio is a really critical determinant of how healthy you're going to be. So most of us are deficient in healthy omega-3s, and the omega-3s are primarily from the ocean, sea-based or sources. So things like fish, which would be the ideal whole food source of omega-3, unfortunately is not really a practical option for most of us nowadays, because almost all the waterways in the world are heavily contaminated with mercuries and industrial pollutants like PCBs and dioxins, and they tend to bioaccumulate up the food chain and get concentrated in the fish. So for the most part, you really want to stay away from fish. The larger the fish, the worse it's going to be, because the longer it's had time to bioaccumulate these toxins. Really small fish, or especially fish grown in relatively unpolluted waters like the Antarctic or rivers in Alaska, would be far safer. So there are some fish that you can have on a regular basis, and I particularly enjoy wild Alaskan salmon on a regular basis, even though there's a small amount of mercury. It's relatively insignificant if you're healthy. So these are definitely strategies you can use. And of course, if that's not a practical way, and it's actually more expensive to get it from Whole Foods, then you can consider a high-quality supplement of animal-based omega-3 fats. And I'll discuss in another video the difference between animal-based and plant-based omega-3 fats. So hopefully this information was helpful, because you've got to get the information correct and understand how to apply the information about fats, because if you're not getting the highest quality fats into your diet, you're going to have a fat deficiency, and that's a massive problem for a number of reasons. And many of us are engaged in that process because we've fallen prey to the misinformation that Ansel Keys, who was a researcher, PhD researcher in the 50s, started and initiated in this low-fat diet nonsense, which has really caused far more harm than any good. So hopefully this information will be useful for you and your family to continue to take control of your health.